Hey, hey, everybody. It's Wednesday. We're going to be thinking out loud. Mostly me. I hope your day, your Wednesday, has been pleasant. I hope that you have felt supported. I hope that you have felt, I don't know, like you had some good energy. I hope that you've had some reason to smile. I hope you laughed today. I hope somebody gave you a hug, embraced you, and or vice versa, because that is very much needed. And yeah, that's what I'm hoping for you, because you know I think that goes a long way in kind of keeping us at a sturdy, balanced place. You know what I mean? Um, so actually today I kind of go into different topics and I look at them and I think about where I stand with them and I look them up. But today I just randomly, this is like going to be probably one of the most truest thinking out loud that there really is possible, because I want to think out loud. I'm going to share with you basically the three things that it's a rule that I came up with. And I'm going to tell you, I came up with this rule when I was incarcerated, because I just knew that I needed to come up with something to help me, that I could do, and it didn't matter what the situation was. And this 3x3 rule is what I do whenever I'm processing some level of frustration, upset, positivity, anger, rage, disappointment. It covers a whole list of things. And the way that the rule works is that because it's a rule, it applies to everything in terms of how I process these things that bother us in life, because it happens quite a bit. And so I wanted to share it with people because I am not a super saint, and I am very human, and I embrace that humanity. And I know that in times in my life, whenever I have shared, being upset, or I have observed people dealing with things and they're upset and they're frustrated and they're angry, and they have every right to be. People will immediately be like, well, nah, you better that, don't let it, get to you and take you out your character. I'm not saying by any means that we should do that. But what I am saying is I have always told people, no, this is how I feel. And now I got every right to feel how I feel. And so until I'm not feeling that anymore, I won't be feeling it. But right now, if I'm pissed, I'm pissed. Right now, if I'm hurt, I'm hurt. Right now, if I'm angry, I'm angry. Right now, if I'm full of rage, I am. But I got to the point where I stopped trying to convince myself that my feelings were wrong and that I had control over my feelings. What I had control over was what I did, the choices I did once I experienced the feeling or it arose. But what I didn't want to do was suppress my feelings. And I think that a lot of us maybe have learned the suppressing of feelings from when we were younger. And that comes from just some of the things that, we experienced when we were raised. Hey, what's going on? And so think about those times when we were young. Some of us, you know how it is, especially, my African American cultures, where if, we were upset or angry and we snatched off or had a pout fit or whatever it was, that was not tolerated. Like, it was not allowed. So, I mean, whereas you would have had a feeling of whatever it was like you had to, suck it up. You know what I mean? And in the minute that we did get out of line with our feelings, if you will, or the expression of our feelings, then, it was either some type of reprimand, spanking, course, like, reaction, or what the parents at the time felt was appropriate. And so what happened to me is I got up into, corporate America and understood the difference between emotional intelligence and what they were trying to say. Because it was almost like they were like, emotional intelligence meant not having emotions. And I thought it was so weird because as a Black woman, I couldn't have emotions, but I watched as my other counterparts could actually have all the emotions that they wanted to have. And I was like, well, how is that emotional intelligence? And where is it in the book where it states that I couldn't have it? And it was such a huge undertaking for me emotionally. And what what ended up happening and what I allowed for it to do is set us a double standard and a higher standard for me as a Black woman, and the inability to be just human. And what I mean by that is I didn't need to show out and pop out. That was not what I'm saying. But even the slightest bit of disagreement, or you know what I mean, saying, hey, hold up, let me set a boundary, or I need to ask for clarification, was mistaken for aggression. And so what it did was it put me in a place where I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to say anything. That's a terrible place to be, where you feel like you can't even speak up because it's going to be taken for some other form. And so that kind of carried with me and really messed with my self-esteem, a lot of my self-confidence, and my self-identity in other people's eyes. And so as, you know, I would mature and grow, and I went through my situation, and a lot of the things that I experienced, I had to really, people say all the time that I was stoic. It was sitting in my belly. I could tell you what's sitting in my belly. So anyway, I got to a point when I was incarcerated, and I met my prison mother, Lucy Thomas, God bless her. And she was like, I remember her, she used to say to people, your feelings are your feelings, and they're valid because they're yours. And I've said that to so many people because it doesn't invalidate your feelings, because your feelings are valid. Their feelings are normal. Your feelings are human. There's nothing wrong with your feelings, even the most darkest ones. It's what we choose to do with them. And so, you know, I remember having to really become comfortable with being like, you know what, I feel what I feel, and I'm not going to lash out. I'm not going to, you know, do anything irrational, but what I'm going to do is acknowledge the feeling. I'm going to actually sit in my feeling until I understand if it's, you know, where's it coming from? Is what I'm feeling actually connected to what the person is doing? Is it my interpretation of what is happening or what is being done? Is it coming from something that reminds me of some type of trauma or childhood? You know, it doesn't happen like that. But what I'm saying is, as I learned to process, that's when I started to understand, like, okay, let me just sit with it for a minute, because a lot of the times it's just a matter of understanding, kind of being at peace with yourself and understanding yourself well. And it also helped me to understand what is an absolute no for me to touch. Like, there's just some things, energies, and peoples and situations I don't even get into, because I know myself well enough to know that's a zero zone. Like, that's a dead zone. That ain't a place I want to go and want to be taken. You know what I mean? So I've learned that about myself. So I'm going to bring on my daughter. Hey, y'all. See y'all. Hey, Havlin. Havlin says, one of the best rules you taught me about, I still practice to this day, the 3 rule. I know that, right? But I'll tell you about the 3 rules in a minute. So let me bring in my daughter. She doesn't even know what I'm getting ready to ask you, but I'm going to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So sit down. This is my youngest girl.
Hello.
This is Rihanna. Speak up.
Hello.
Lean in here with me, girl, and look in the camera. Look in that camera if you can. So there's times in her little 10-year-old life, even before that, as we are learning and growing, you know, sometimes Rihanna would be upset with something that didn't go her way, quite naturally. We've all experienced it. I've been 10, and I'm quite sure I did it. So whenever that happened and those things took place, what exactly did you do?
One thing I would do is I would just like go into my room.
Speak up.
I would go into my room, close my door.
How would you do that, though?
I would do it softly.
No, you wouldn't. Let's tell the truth today.
No,
You say what?
I would slam the door.
Did you stump up the stairs?
Yes.
Okay, when you got to the room, what else did you do once you slammed the door? Did you scream and cry?
Throw stuff.
And throw stuff? What did I do?
You let me experience it.
And I didn't prepare her for this. I'm letting you know how it works. So when you became upset like that, what and you said I let you experience it, and then what else?
Then afterwards, you talked to me about it.
Okay. Did I yell at you?
Mm-mm.
Was I calm?
Yes.
Okay. And how did that work for you?
It actually taught me something, because if you were yelling at me, then I still would have been doing that by now.
You think so? Okay. And so at one particular point, I remember, because she would do this, and she doesn't do it anymore. She's able to have her feelings, but she doesn't, the expression in that way doesn't take place. And have I ever had to reprimand you or hit you or spank you about any of those type of things?
Mhm.
Okay. So, and you're telling the truth.
Yes.
So I'm letting you guys know. And so what ended up happening was I said, you know what, if I don't allow for her to feel what she's feeling, was I frustrated? Absolutely. Absolutely. I was like, ugh. But if I didn't allow for her to feel what it was and then have a consequence for those behaviors that didn't require for me to display what she was doing, which would then kind of be confusing because if I went to her with that kind of energy, all it did was make it worse. Now, in the future, she will learn if I did like and cut it and she had like that, then what'll happen in the future is she'll learn to suppress those things. But once I allow for her to be like, okay, and it would be times I'd be like, listen, I see you're upset right now. You can go ahead and deal with that. Go ahead and be upset and just let me know when you're ready to talk. Did I?
Yes.
And how long did it usually take you to do that?
Like 5 to 10 minutes.
Didn't take long. It didn't take long. So we would talk about it and she would actually have a consequence, if it meant you had to go to bed early or sometimes if it was things where I was like, hey, I done told you about that before, she would pay the penalty with money. Yes.
Yes.
Writing an essay.
Yes.
And so one time she wrote me a note after that and she said, Mommy, can you help me to do, with things I can do when I become upset? You know what I mean? And some of those things were like what?
How to control my anger.
Like what?
Screaming and yelling.
I mean, things that you could do that are more productive as opposed to screaming and yelling. Like when you became upset, what did I share with you to do?
Breathe.
Okay.
Think happy thoughts.
How about share what you're feeling?
Yes.
Yeah. Communicate what you feel.
Yes.
Why you're upset.
Yes.
And what do you need?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you all. You can go ahead and skedaddle. Poo. Thank you, Ree. So I'm sharing that with you because what I didn't notice as I got older is people just was like they didn't know how. Well, it's not that they didn't know how, they felt guilty about feeling the feelings that they felt. They felt like ashamed. They felt like well, I shouldn't be feeling like that, or I'm a better person, or all those things. And it's not times that I don't feel that way. But I will share with you for the most part, I'm usually like, you know what? I get to a point like I'm gonna share with you a conversation I had with a friend. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of being decent. I don't want to be decent no more. I don't want to take no more high roads. They have been closed and they are detoured. I am angry. And you know what I feel, I want you to feel, or I want this person to feel, or I'm angry about this situation. I want to express that. That right there was just an acknowledgement for myself, just to be able to that's how I feel. I didn't do those things, but that's the hell how I felt. You know what I mean? And so one of the things, I want to let you know is that there's 3 ways to not deal with anger. You know what I mean? And one of them is suppress it, either express it or repress it. Like any of that. And I would say I would go as far to say for confusion or displeasure, indifference, annoyance, frustration, what else? Rejection. Because these are all a part of the human experience. We will all experience those things. The best thing for me was to acknowledge what was going on. I feel the way I feel. And there's times I have felt envy and, didn't know exactly what that was, thought it was something I was upset about, but what it really was me feeling some kind of way envy, but that envy was really more like an insecurity, right? And that's really nobody else's issue. Really, none of it is. But what I'm saying to you is it allowed me to be like, well, what's your problem with that then? Do you feel like you need to tighten up? You know what I mean? And these are the conversations that I have with myself. Well, yeah, you can't be mad at it. Hey, they doing their thing. They say it got nothing to do with you. Just got to do what you reflected on. Maybe you should do better. Or maybe you should raise your game. Or maybe you could, learn something in addition that can make that better. So it's not to say that I'm in competition. It's just to be like, because what it is, in my opinion, is admiring something in somebody else. And you're like, you know what? They're doing their thing. I'm at a point now where I'm much more mature. You're like, you know what? I like that. I'm also mature enough to say that's a good lane. That ain't my lane, but that's a good lane. And I'm also able to know to be like, hey, that ain't my ministry. Oh, I have no desire to do that, but they doing that darn thing. You understand what I'm saying? So let me get into that was just me kind of expressing, I confess it. So if I'm not suppressing it, if I'm not repressing it, and if I'm not expressing it, then I'm confessing it. Okay, so I'm just going to take acknowledgement of what I feel. I'm going to sit in it for a minute. All right. So the 3 rule is this. Y'all ready? It ain't hard. All right. I got 30 minutes to be in my feelings, not like some upset, whatever. I don't care what the situation is. I got 30 minutes. I got 3 hours, but I got in no longer than 3 days. That's my rule. No longer than 3 days. And then you say, well, why 3 days, Marissa? Because this is in my mind. This is what I told myself when I developed this rule. I was like, listen, according to, Christianity, Bible says, if you're into that, whatever you want to use, that's up to you. But this is just that my choice of what the doctrine I use, or what I built this off of, or what I came up with this about. If baby black Jesus affectionately known as Jesus Devontae Christ, okay, because he black. If on the 3rd day he ain't do nothing wrong, he was betrayed by friends, everything, hung on a cross, persecuted, told, the whole 9, and he can get up after 3 days and be like, what's up? I love you. Got your back. There ain't nothing I can't get through. Like, I give myself 3 days to let anything linger on after that. After that, I'm having real conversations with myself. It didn't start out like that. In other words, I implemented the rule, and as I practiced it, I got better. That's the rules. 30 minutes. Got 30 minutes. So let me give you an example of a 30-minute one. You in traffic. Somebody cuts you off. And you like, oh, you almost got in an accident. You almost hit somebody. 30 minutes. You ain't going to see them no more. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Like, they're on the phone. You done seen it. You done been in traffic. And, you like, I'm trying to get around, and somebody do something crazy, and you go past them, and they're having a full-fledged conversation on the phone, completely just in a whole, I'm about to lose my life over here because of this conversation you talking about absolutely probably nothing, right? And it's like the 21st century. Where is your headpiece? Where is the Bluetooth? So, especially if it scares you, it catches you off guard, I say 30 minutes. And that's just putting it mildly. You know what I mean? 30 minutes. I'm waiting for something to be done. They told me it was going to be an hour, ended up being 3 hours. That happens. None of you control that. I may be a little salty about that. Might even be pretty upset and annoyed. But I give myself 30 minutes and I kind of talk through what's going on. If I have to express and can express my displeasure, I do that in some form of complaint. It usually works really well if I do a review. You understand what I'm saying? But that allows me to be like, you know what? I got ish to do. Like, I don't want to be sitting here. You told me an hour. Now it's 2. Now it's 3. Like, I don't have anything going on. Now this plan I had, you get to go down that loop, feel a little disrespected, but it's like, no, hey, I got stuff to do. And they don't, it's not that they may not care. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but that don't even matter because we don't have control over that. So I say 30 minutes for that kind of stuff. You and somebody has some, a few words, maybe 3 hours. Maybe 3 hours. Maybe me and, a situation happens where I was looking for something to happen or take place. And give you an example, looking for some furniture to be delivered. They said it was going to be this day, push back. So I'm waiting. Done took off this day, know it's going to be there, and some delay happens and my furniture or whatever is supposed to be delivered don't come. I can be pretty upset about that because that's a waste of my time. I can't get that back. You know what I'm saying? So that would be an example of what I may use 3 hours about. A disagreement that I've had with somebody that, may has caused me to have to do more work, or something didn't get taken care of, or there was a miscommunication, or, something that was supposed to be done. And I, whatever the case may be, I give myself like 3 hours for that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like I measure it. Like, like how long do I really want to be in this space? Because honestly, I see a lot of people that are, carry around a lot of, you know what I'm saying? And what I'm saying is sometimes it's not what you eat, it's what's eating at you. That's gonna get your bowels all jacked up. You're gonna be feeling all, some kind of way. And people be dying, and not living long lives because they stay in a space of not being able to just, allow things to take its course and have a way to approach it. And what I mean by that is not, it's easy to say all these very true Gandhi type things. It's not the situation, it's how you respond. All that sounds good until you actually deal with it and it's sitting in the pit of your stomach. You understand what I'm saying? Because the fact of the matter is it's a practice that it takes to get to there. And for me, that is what I had to implement. And am I at 100% with it? No, I'm probably about 85%. And I'm talking about on things that probably would be a long-term ongoing thing. And, and then there's things that are 3-day things. You know what I mean? Where I'm terribly, offended, or something that was messing with my Skrilla that will leave me feeling some kind of way. Because then we have plans, we have things we need to do. Somebody bothers with your child. Somebody, is personally attacks you. Maybe you lose a job. Maybe you get fired. All of these things that would cause us to be upset, feeling some kind of way, angry, all of these things. But I can tell you that my thought process was even after my uncle was murdered, and I'm sharing this from my personal experience, and it was very, very difficult. It was very, very hard, and to me, I mean, it was just super nonsense. And I remember being like, you know what? I can sit up here and stew and ruminate on this, that, and the third. But at some point, I'm going to want to celebrate what he meant. I'm going to remember. I'm going to want to pay attention to his laugh. I'm going to want to remember the things he said. He called me doll. He called all the, hey, doll, said baby doll, like doll. Things like that. And so for me, that moved me from the place of extreme pain, and moved me into a place where I could process what I was feeling with what I was feeling. It took a couple days, and then just the weeks that took place after that was difficult. Things that were just kind of nonsensical that happened. And I was like, okay, and just really trying to find a way to focus on the positive. And so what I realized was until the pain was acknowledged and the anger would never heal. I just had to deal with those things and many other things like that, even with my case, even with the way certain things took place on that journey. And honestly, this is where this 3-day rule came up, because I was like, I have to find a way that when I'm going through this ordeal, to not take energy that could be used for being positive and putting in the atmosphere my release. No, I'm going to win. No, it's going to work out. No, you know what I mean? Like I got to get home to my kids. Those type of things. What I'm going to be doing, how we going to party, what I'm going to eat. Like I had to focus on those things, because oftentimes I felt like I was in a ring with my hands tied behind my back and I was getting beat up by Mike Tyson and Mayweather. That's how a lot of the days felt like in that trial, and just going through that whole ordeal, like seriously. And so I had to figure out a way, you know what I mean, to take a hit and not let it sit with me long where it would knock me out. So that is how, I came up with the 3 rules. So again, I got 30 minutes to feel whatever I want to feel about anything. And they're like, no feelings off limits. Okay. Like none of that. 30 minutes, I'm going to confess it. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to sit with it. I'm not going to let anybody tell me, well, don't let it get to you. Well, right now it is. And I'm pissed off about it. And I'm going to just feel how I feel. I have said that to people. That's how I feel right now. So until I'm not feeling that way, this is what I'm going to feel. How about that? Because it needed to do that in order for me to process it and move past it. So 30 minutes, 3 hours, and 3 days. No more than 3 days, because even Jesus Devontae Christ rose up on the third. That's the way I process it. That's what works for me. So whatever doctrine you use and anything you know about what it is that you know, your religious doctrine, spirituality, I mean, however you want to call it, try it. Try it. And then, I have a pretty good friend of mine who, really got me into meditation. And that helps. That definitely does help put things in perspective. I'm able to really kind of move, not against the wave, not up against the grain, not up against the tide, but with it. And because things happen constantly, is ebbs and flows, and not allowing for, those things to monitor my temperature within, and just being able to, to be as even keel as I can. But when there's things as a human that I feel and bother me, I wanted to know, like, I had to figure out a way, to process those things in a healthy way, and not feel guilty about it when I miss the mark, because it's times I miss the mark. I said I was at 85%, y'all. So yeah, I appreciate y'all, hopping on here. Oh, look at her. I'm gonna put this up here. So this is my oldest girl. She works with young little people at a daycare. And she said, I was teaching the kids today about channeling their negative emotions in the right way and what is impulse control. And honey, don't we know? Don't we know? We talked a lot about that, especially being an empath, and I'm an introvert. I'm gonna get into that. I'm an introvert. So one of the things that I had to get into the habit about is learning how to properly communicate what it is that I was experiencing and what I was feeling and what my needs were. But I wasn't able to do that in a way more effective way. I've always been able to express myself and, have a dialogue. But when stuff happens to you in your life, we would like to call those things trauma, PTSD. Whenever you run into an instance that's even remotely close to that experience, sometimes you shut down. And so that's what I'm saying is I had to learn to kind of rethink how I wanted to process things, because as an introvert, I can be like just completely like, okay, whatever, you know what I mean? And completely not have a conversation. Okay, whatever. I will okay your ass to death if it means to not invest energy into any nonsense. But what happens is that if I have to, have this relationship in things with a person that is, people you love and you care about and you're invested in, you're going to have disagreement. So you got to figure out a way to be able to feel what you feel and honor yourself. That's what I mean. Like, honor yourself, like honor your feelings, like, right. And then be like, okay, so what's the next move? And, also having people that support you. I'm very blessed. I have people that I can go to and literally be like, you know what? Yeah. And get pretty raw, you know what I mean? And sometimes that helps me, you know what I mean? And not being judged or told, I have that. So I'm praying that you have that too, because sometimes that helps. I have identified people, if necessary, and I will make this suggestion to you, is depending on what you do, how it works, whatever the case, what you got to lose, if that's the case. I haven't needed it yet, but I have identified those that if needed be ever to talk me off the ledge. You know what I mean? Like, you need that in your life. And let me tell y'all something, with the way things are right now in this world, I really would suggest we really pay attention to that, because it's a lot of people who are suppressing and dealing with a lot of things and stuff that happens online that quickly happens, and your whole life could just be in shambles, and you could be getting death threats. It's crazy. You have to figure out a way to be able to not take that stuff so serious, because really it's kind of it's almost like this whole outer world of things that are not anything like what they say, because, the internet, social media projects an incredible amount of fallacy and BS. So, really understanding that even though that looks like that, people are really starting to kind of move like that in our atmospheres and in our environments. And so you want to be really prepared for anything, so that's the reason why, I felt it necessary to talk to you about that. And lastly, before I go, I'm really excited about the book that's upcoming. It's I don't know if I want to call it an autograph. It's not. I think an autobiography would be kind of boring. It's not those things, but it's a whole lot of other different things. And I want to be able to share it with you. So I would like for you to please go to marissaalexander.com and go to subscription, because I will be giving special, plugs, inserts, and different things to those people who are signed up on that email list to get those things. It'll be really exclusive for those individuals, because it is, gosh, I got so many stories to tell, just even about the process of that, not even just the journey, but just being able to find the right thing, being able to really get together what it is that I wanted it to be about. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to reflect on something and be like, you know what, I'm happy with this piece. So I'm hoping to be able to share that with you again. marissaalexander.com. Click on the link, subscribe. You will be getting emails from us, and we will not harass your life. Not unnecessarily anyway. Y'all, thank y'all for joining me today. Just wanted to let y'all know about that. Maybe you go back, check it out. Remember, 3x3 rule. 30 minutes, 3 hours, no more than 3 days, whatever it is, and then you let it go. And if you just practice it, I promise you, after 3 days, because today's Wednesday, I'm telling you, on Monday, oh buddy, like a volcano in my stomach. I wrote about it. It's in my journal. I wrote about it. And I'm much better today because it's a practice. And anything I thought about, it's just something that I've been doing for some time. Thought I'd share with y'all. Hopefully you like it. Thanks for joining me. Till next time. Peace out.